In this video, I'm going to quickly show you how we use one of our trading model that we call the Cashflow News Event Trading Framework to pick trade. And you might need to really listen to this. It's very important. I see the need to show you this so that at least you can have an idea of what is possible with the forex market. And of course, maybe you can now begin to see how you can take position in the forex market and to be making profit for yourself. Uh, the news release or news event trading framework, what we do is that we follow the news and we use this as one of our framework for the cash flow model. The cash flow model is what we use to take trade within a day. And of course, the implication of that is that we believe that with this model, we should have cash flow, on the average on weekly basis. We have the project model, we have the investment model, and the cash flow model. One of the framework that we trade is the news event framework. The second one is what we call the money box, the cash flow money box framework. So I want to quickly show you one of the trades that our model, call out for us at Potential Miners International. And I want you to really listen and pay close attention. Today is August 19th, 2025 is a Tuesday, and the news has been released. The way we trade our news at Potential Miners International, we don't just enter based on what is happening. We infuse the data that is released with the reality of the fundamental and sentiment analysis that we already have on ground, based on each of the currencies. Then we now take position. I want you to pay close attention. I beg your pardon, to this data set. Look at all the data released for Canadian dollar in terms of the CPI year on year. We have the CPI month on month, the median CPI year on year, the trim CPI, and the common CPI year on year. And we notice that, all the data except for the common CPI year on year, all the data, they are the same thing with the forecast, which means that on this basis, if we are to base our analysis on the median CPI, the trim CPI, the expectation of the market or the investor is what the data is, and it's not going to really shift the market price as relating to Canadian dollar significantly. The only one that caught our attention is the common CPI year on year. Of course, the projection was that the CPI is going to increase, which means that the Canadian dollar is expected to have higher inflation based on CPI year on year, common CPI year on year. However, the actual is lesser than the projection. And this is why we now want to trade the GBP card. The implication of this news release is that the Canadian dollar is going to be weak. And of course, if the Canadian dollar is weak, we already know that GBP has higher interest rates as compared to the Canadian dollar. And of course, by the time we overview our directional bias, it is obvious that the directional bias is in favor of uh, GBP card on the buy. And the news release is now showing us that card is going to be weaker based on the news release data. So we now take position. And how do we do that? At the point or the moment, let me clear this so that I can take the trade all over. You can see it, how we do it. The news was released around 1:30 p.m. So what we do is that we wait for the news for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Let's see how the market will react to the news. So 1:30 the news was released and we saw how the market react. And of course, after 10 minutes of the news release, we are looking out for either of these three things. We are looking out for a fair value gap in favor of what we want to trade, or another block in favor of what we want to trade, or an engulfing move. And of course, after the 10 minutes, this was 130, this was 135. After 10 minutes, we have a fair value gap around this place, somewhere around here. And this is where we position usually to take our trade. Our entry price is usually above the 50% of the fair value gap. Then, of course, we projected before this trade that the expected movement on card GBP card should be around 15 pips in terms of our stop loss. So our projection for stop loss on GBP card, these are preliminary analysis that we do before the news release. We projected that the maximum stop loss that we are going to be putting on the trade is 15 pips. So we enter the trade right on the 50% of the like the midpoint of the fair value gap, slightly above it. That's where we position usually. Then we'll take ratio 1 to 3, ratio 1 to 3 on the trade. Let me go to the 15-minute chart so that you can see how we project ratio 1 to 3. Then of course 15 pips is our projection. So this trade is already running. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is to just show a live example of what we do at Potential Miners International. When we say that we are trading cash flow model, the implication of that is while you wait for trade signal on the project account, which you are supposed to take position, or the trade signal on the investment account where we trade the daily waves and the weekly waves. We have cash flow model that ensure that we can pick trades on the average of 4 trades in a week. Sometimes we might get up to 6 trades depending on the available signal and the numbers of news releases for that particular week. So we are taking this trade now. Of course, this trade is not a guarantee of whether we are profitable at Potential Miners International. This is just one of 20 trades. At Miners International, what we are preaching is that if you are going to trade in the financial market, especially the forex market, your judgment of how profitable you are or how working your strategy is should not be based on 1 trade or 2 trades or 3 trades. It should be based on a cluster of 20 trades. So this is just one of out of 20 trades that we have to take. So the fact that this trade is already in profit does not mean it's going to end, it's going to eat the take profit. You see it now. So it might still be possible that the trade will hit stop loss. However, this is just one of out of 20 trades that we take. And for cash flow model, we take average of 4 trades in a week, 4 to 6 or 8 trades depending. But at least you should have around 4 trades per week. So which means that on the average, by the time you will take, and you will take ratio 1 to 3. So by the time you will take the 20 trades in a month, you should close in profit on the average. And this is how we trade at Potential Miners International. And following us on this YouTube channel is going to really benefit your trading journey, and it's going to really help you to begin to now approach the market, like the professionals do. I remain Mr. Akimbode Damilola, and I'm the lead analyst at Potential Miners International. At Potential Miners International, we trade in wave, and we believe that we are kings of wave. So I want you to stay glued to this channel, subscribe to this channel, and of course turn on the notification bell so that when we release informative or educative videos like this, you will be the first person to benefit. Till I see you in the next video, thank you for listening. God bless you.